Okay then, councillors. Welcome to the March planning meeting for Crewe Town Council. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Councillor Messent.
Two, to note declarations of members' interest. The agenda is sent out. No. From the sound of minutes, the planning committee held on the 29th of January. Can we have approval of those minutes, please? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. That says the 12th of February. Which one is it? 12th of February. Amendment. Okay, for the record, that was the minutes for the 29th of January, was it?
Yeah.
Right, okay. And then we just, well, the minutes there says the 12th, so...
Yeah, that's right. It's 12th of February that you just approved,
Right, okay.
which is what was circulated.
Item 4, public participation. We have no members here, is that?
None.
I don't know what that is. Okay, before we go to item 5, we have a guest in the Councillor Y, and I'd like your permission to move 8.2, which is walking cycling route through Crewe, so that Ben can address us for a few moments and then he'll leave the meeting rather than sit through. If that's okay with you, Councillor.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Ben, all yours.
Thank you. So I'm minded to raise this because I've been digging around the air quality data for Crewe. We used to have 3 air quality management areas, Nantwich Road, Flag Lane and Earl Street. And over lockdown, the air quality miraculously improved because there was no traffic. And now we don't have any. But the diffuser tubes, which are quite a primitive kind of litmus paper test, there's about 6 through the town in those areas just to keep an eye on things. And they've consistently recorded levels of nitrogen dioxide above the legal limit and way above the health organisation's limit. So, for example, the Mill Street one, which is near the junction lights, in January, which is the most recent data I can get, it was 42.6, which is above the legal limit, and over the year it's been over. Earl Street is about the same. Flag Lane isn't so bad, but that might be due to the location. It's not actually on Flag Lane, it's on Wisterton Road itself. And that's why I was moved to raise the walking cycling issue, because all of that pollution, most of it, the vast percent of it, is caused by traffic. The only government DEFRA monitoring station is not in Crewe. It's next to Madlin's, there's a field next to Madlin's primary school, and it's up there. So, of course, that just catches all the clean country air that sweeps past the town. So it's not relevant to the town at all. So I'm just really wanted to raise awareness, especially for the planning committee, about when plans do come through. I know that you do consider air quality in it, but it is worse than we think. It's not up to Cheshire East to declare air quality management area. The data has to be consistently, on average, above 40 micrograms per cubic metre for 2 years. So we can't rely on the government telling Cheshire East to do it. But as we go through your planning applications, I just wanted to raise an issue that it would. There are the new walkway from the station to here. If it's handled properly and it'll snagging, so the Delamere Street one we're talking about out of the meeting, there's some ambiguity about the exit to it on next to Gatefield Street. So we need to monitor these things and make sure that they actually do work for everybody, and they're not seen as some sort of dark manipulation of a 15-minute city. All of these routes that are being put in are extra to the roads, which might take that just 10% of vehicles off the road in good weather, that would make getting around easier, cleaner and safer, both by car, by bicycle and by foot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, anybody want to ask about anything? I'll comment on air quality.
So if I may, Chair. Ben, you said there's an air quality meter at Madeline's own school.
Yeah.
So is there any way we can get one nearer into the town?
No, it's up to DEFRA. They put one, they're putting another one near Bollington as well, also, because they're looking at national data. They're not bothered about urban data per town. They just look, you can go onto the defra.gov site and see a big picture of the whole country about how things are. I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that we had a meeting in this very room last week with a team that came up to London, which had a brilliant and aspirational plan for their heritage centre. And the lady said to me at the end of it, she said, is there like some burning going on in town or something? We could taste the air when we got off the train. And I thought she was having a laugh. I said, oh, just because she's coming from central London. And I said, oh, I think there's some steam train movements around which might have affected it. But then I looked at the data, and so at the moment we're at 48 micrograms per metre. Central London today is only 20.6. So our air quality in Crewe is arguably twice as bad as central London.
Right, this might not be a question of you, Ben, but as I'm talking to you, is there any way we can get in touch with DEFRA and say we would like you to come, because
They won't do it. They won't do it because they're only interested in national data. Cheshire East has got an air quality management team that are very good, but of course they're hampered by regulation and funding. The tubes that they've got up, they have to go out every month and monitor them manually. They did have a Cheshire East air quality station just behind Asda on Aldi on Nantwich Road, but that was defunct years ago. So it's a big grey box, and it's a trip hazard, but they're expensive, you see.
well, if I may, something that, sorry, Chair, if I may, something that I'm told I'm very good at, being a pain in the butt, if we keep on to Cheshire East and say that the air quality in Crewe is absolutely abysmal, and will you please do something about it, at least get something registered so that we know exactly what it is, and just keep on until they're fed up of listening to us.
I can't vote on this committee,
I know
but
you
if I could, I would second that if you were to propose it
Well,
as a...
I'll propose that.
Mal, before we go to anything,
Yeah,
Paul, if
before
you
we
want
go
to...
to that, just a general, I'm really sorry, I have to express my ignorance here, because I actually don't understand. I understand what you told us in terms of the statistics, and I was aware of that from years. You know, it's been well known for years, hasn't it? And there was quite, I'm thinking back 4 or 5 years ago, there was a bit of an investigation into mistakes that had been made about the way it was monitored, and it's a well-known fact that there's high levels on the area around Nantwich Road and that. But what is it that you want us here as a planning committee to do? Do you want us to say you can't build any houses, you can't build family homes bringing up children in that area, or we should demolish all the streets around there where families are living? Obviously, I presume you're not saying that.
It's a good question.
Actually, am I, myself as a member of this planning committee, what are you asking me to think about doing?
I think, well, I was hearing about when the barrel was turned to an HMO, they insisted that they put in, I think the chair can give us more detail on that, put in air conditioning units because they weren't allowed to open the windows on the road.
Ah, right.
But we think that they never did. So children, I'm glad you raised it, because children are far more susceptible because they're lower to the ground and their lungs are. But air quality, it accounts for, I can't remember the data, but a massive proportional morbidity. When you look at the age of, the length of age between Crewe and Nantwich, it's about 10 years, isn't it? We died 10 years earlier. in Nantwich. And then again, Nantwich has got lower pollution levels than us, and yet they've got an air quality management area.
You see, again, I understand that, but what are we here on planning, when we get a planning application, like for instance the first one on our list is Somerville Street, and it's a terraced house in Somerville Street where they want to extend into the attic. So presumably that's to have more people living in the house.
Yeah.
What should we be doing about the fact that that's an area where there's high levels of pollution? Should we be saying you shouldn't be expanding your house because of that?
There are things that you could do to like not having windows opening on the main road, but I think that's a bit draconian. I wouldn't go to that level to what to do. But when you get I don't know if it was a new bypass going through there, or like the Dunwoody Road link up or something like that, sometimes a new road will make it better because the traffic will flow better. But usually, if you build a new road, more traffic comes. So there was a plan, for example, to create a left-hand turn going from South Street into Nantwich Road, but there's a piece of grass there that you'll see. But, for example, that could be planted up. Cheshire East has got an interim policy of not replacing trees within 3 metres of the curbside of the road, which would mean Crewe would lose all its trees except one on the Nantwich Road that's already dead. So something about, if you build a new house, can you make sure it's set aside from the road, or what kind of mitigation are you going to put in? I don't know. To be honest, I wasn't sure. I'm not sure what I'm asking, but I was quite shocked by the figures. And this plan for a walking and cycling route, which is not a plan yet, it's just an aspirational dream. I'd like you to look on favourably for that kind of thing, because of the impact it has on young children especially.
I mean, we always have done, haven't we? We've always been supporting that and more cycle routes and that. Yeah. But I just think that we're a planning committee, so we need to be mindful of planning regulations and taking those into account. So it would be good if we could maybe have a bit more information, possibly Clark might be able to help us in future with that, as to what are the planning rules to do with air quality, if there are any. So
I think I've got Steve's question. Unless he's dropped off.
No, I was listening. Well, it's curious. There used to be an air quality management area around Nantwich Road, if we recall. And I certainly recall there was a kind of monitoring station. And that was quite near Edward Street.
Yeah, that's it. It was at the corner of Edward Street.
Yeah, and I think it was finally removed, although it had actually been defunct, not for years and years. But I think it would be reasonable. I mean, we're not constrained by too much of this. I mean, I'd certainly support whatever it is that Dennis is proposing. It would be useful. It would be actually worthwhile to inquire of Cheshire East, at the very least, whatever happened to the air quality management area, because I think it was just knocked on the head, probably. What comments have they got about air quality standards? Because if that's measured, I mean, it's been brought to our attention that the air quality in Nantwich Road or Earl Street or whatever is twice as bad as London, which is pretty horrendous when you think about it. Just to seek some comments, and actually, I don't see any reason why we couldn't at least ask them. Well, can they offer some advice, or even if it's relevant to planning? I think it must be to some extent. You've got to have healthy living conditions.
Just for
somebody to maybe to sort of either write us, or it'd be quite handy actually as a bit of training, wouldn't it? I think. I don't see any reason it couldn't be done if they're open to that
before bring Ben back, if you remember, over the years we have made comment, and there was 2 cases in particular I remember. One was on Nantwich Road with the Barrel public house, as was. It was turned into an HMO, and that's right on the traffic lights of South Street and Nantwich Road, Mill Street. And when they were changing it, I remember as this planning committee with its different members obviously, made comment that there's lots the cars that stop there, they're still, you know, revving up and all the rest of it, and that they did have some figures, but there was always then an argument about whether those figures were accurate, and that was an air quality control area,
Management area. Yeah.
along with Wisterson Road, Flag Lane Junction, when they wanted to make an HMO of that public house, the Earl of Chester. And it was the same, we made comment, is it fair to those tenants? And on Nantwich Road they put in that the windows would not, they'd have to have air conditioning inside because they couldn't have them opening the windows directly on. Now, if you go past, and I used to go past and used to think, good out there open. And I felt for the people that live there. And then, of course, time goes on and you just forget about that. But this is coming back in my mind now. The problem is now, we haven't got any figures whatsoever, have we? I mean, it's not good having one down Mablin's Lane, which is it? Because they'll say, oh, well, that's not, you know, that's... So, I think the question for us is how do we raise the profile of air quality now that you've given us those figures? How do we raise it generally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to ask Ben if their quality's deteriorated further because of these potholes. You know, the cars are stopping, starting, revving up. You know, so I think of Kingsway.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's a highly populated area and the children are going up and
Yeah.
down to school.
Yeah.
And the cars are stopping, starting,
Yeah.
and you can see the exhaust coming
Yeah.
out, you can smell it.
Cool. Yeah, you can.
And
Yeah.
it's one of the worst roads. And it must have an effect, mustn't
Yeah,
it?
it
Must have an
does.
impact.
And of course, it only there's just this arbitrary rule about 40 units per cubic metre, and if when they average it out, strangely enough, the average last year was 36.7, but January 23 and January 24 was 48 and 42. So they do some complicated things with that maths. The reason why they're not air quality management areas is during lockdown there was no cars, so that the air quality really improved.
Okay, so I'll keep going now. Madeline, and then I'm going to bring Pete in.
I can direct members to have a look on the Cheshire East website. I googled, or any other search things are available, air quality Cheshire East, and was directed through to a page about air quality, and there is an air quality action plan which is 2020 to 25, and that's a statutory requirement with regard to air quality management areas, which we're sure
Which we don't have.
Right, okay, well, it seems to be quite a long document on there, so I think it might be worth members themselves just having a look at that.
Okay.
And it says that the air quality strategy is being reviewed at the moment.
Yeah.
So if they weren't doing one because it's not required, then they wouldn't have put that on there, presumably.
Well, it's not required here because we don't have a management area anymore. The data gets reprocessed in March, so coming up very soon. We should get the new averages for the last year or 6 months, so it's not getting any better.
Okay, well, Pete, would you like to sum up?
No,
Or
that's very kind.
so was it?
I can't wait for this.
Might it be appropriate if members were to direct me to contact Cheshire East to seek clarity on their position with their quality action plan, their quality strategy, noting the need for them to tackle the health inequalities we have statistics for, and if I can have access to the data you've referenced, I can put that to them and see what their plans are to do that. So I can report back to this committee, which will eventually be called the Planning and Environment Committee in May anyway. So that will make a lot of sense.
Somebody like to... Dennis, would you like to?
Well, I'd like to propose that we put this back in the light of what we've just heard about them putting in what you call it, Marilyn said, in the end of this month. I would like this to be brought up on our planning in either next month or the month after, so that we've got the figures in front of us, which will give us ammunition, for want of a better word, to put it to Cheshire East that we want something done about it.
So does the committee wish us to direct the clerk to contact Cheshire East?
Yeah.
I think we've got two suggestions there, haven't we? Because we had a suggestion from the clerk, and now to me is an additional suggestion from Councillor Strode Francis, that the anticipation that we're going to ask Cheshire East to do something about it, which means sounds, you know, how big a thing is that?
Well, we don't ask where we'll go, will we?
It doesn't sound specific enough to me. I think maybe
Or would
we
you
ought
like
to.
to be specific?
Well, I was happy with what the clerk had said.
If I may, I'm sorry, Councillor, I know you were to be next. I understand that you want something done that's entirely right and proper. It might be better if I was directed to return to this committee with whatever I can find out in this coming few weeks from Cheshire East and the data we can get hold of, and then that might be a more structured request of Cheshire East for clarity on what can happen next. Good.
Yeah.
As long as we can bring it up in
You
next
can bring it up
month
as
or
often as you like. I'm not trying to stop that. It's just that
No.
I don't know what I'm asking them for right now. That's all.
Okay, then I'll withdraw what I've said until next month.
Steve,
All right.
last word.
Well, I mean, it seems someone pointed out there's an air quality action plan 2020 to 2025, so it's plainly up for review. It will need to be updated, won't it, next year? So that review probably is underway, and presumably air quality matters are one of the considerations in the local plan, and there's a local plan review going on, as far as I'm aware. This has been said for some time. So it's where are they up to with that? Is it actually included within that? It's actually specific with the air quality action plan. They must be looking to update that next year.
I feel that your positivity is laudable.
Yes. Well, if it's
Well,
2025, giving up on air quality at the end of 2025 with the advent of a new regime or something.
It would be sensible to think that.
Sorry,
Okay.
Chair. I think we've got a duty of care for the people that live in Namwich Road.
Yeah.
And it's
And
not in my ward anyway, but anyway, that's not the point. The thing is, if we can do something about it, in my opinion, we should. And if that means I've got to be a pain in the backside to do it, then there'll be. I've got a gold medal.
So for clarity, what Pete said, that we instruct him to contact Cheshire East and find out everything that he can in that short time for the next meeting, and we'll have it as agenda item.
See what we can do.
Is that,
That's
is
good
that,
enough for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
you happy with that?
Yeah.
I'm delighted. Thank you very much for your time.
Are you okay with that, Marilyn?
Yes.
Okay then, well thank you colleagues, and thank you Ben for stimulating our brains.
Bye, Ben.
Before we go on to
Thank you.
Bye.
Safe journey home.
Okay.
Bike, there's not too much pollution.
Just breathe on the way back.
Make sure that's on the
Miles
road.
from Ben.
Okay then.
It'll keep you busy all that.
Okay, let's get back down to earth now.
Yep.
Item 5 then, first application 240549, conversion of a loft area to form third floor bedroom, 18 Smuggle Street.
Okay, there we go. The proposal is simply that a loft conversion, converting what appears to be a three-bedroom property to a five-bedroom property.
Wonder why.
It just says bedroom, that's actually two if you look at this.
The when it finally pops up, it does take a while to computer. I apologise. The things I was able to observe out of this were the fact that this provides no details of headroom that I could identify. Therefore, we don't know if this is appropriate accommodation, whether people can stand up for a sufficient portion of that room or not. It does show the 1 metre height level, which is in the eaves, which would indicate that there's not a huge amount of upright room in 2 bedrooms that they're proposing. I feel that perhaps for a 3-bedroom terrace house this might be overdevelopment. There's a huge amount of amenity space outside, and there doesn't seem to be an identified safe egress and emergency from that top floor. So, there's not a huge amount of difference in terms of the external appearance, it just develops in the roof there. But in terms of the layout, let's go a bit closer. Sorry about the computer, it's been a bit slow. And so to be fair. That's the first floor here, comes some stairs, which will enter into the loft as proposed and show the bedroom to one side, either side of the those stairs.
That's 4 single beds.
I think those are the Velux windows. Those dashed lines here are Velux windows, I'm presuming. And that black line there is the 1 metre headroom height. So you've got that distance there, and that's the ridge, that dotted line in the middle. It doesn't indicate the size of the rooms, whether they meet minimum technical standard either. I think I would be concerned that this represents poor quality proposal.
Can I propose we reject this on the grounds that there's not enough information?
What do you mean by reject? Reject looking at it, reject considering it.
Or object.
Just object. We don't know how big the rooms are going to be. We don't know whether they're within the what do you call it, the size of the rooms. We don't know. It could be under the 2 metres or whatever it is width. It says 1 metre in the eaves. What height is it at the top? There's not enough information at all.
And also,
And bathrooms.
I mean, on the face of it, it did look like cramming to me. And the other thing was, that top was,
Sorry, I was going to get the side plan, sorry.
the side profile. Now, it wasn't clear to me whether they were actually planning to extend by that amount. That the present profile would be in bold, and is it being proposed that the new profile, side whatever side view, would have all those extensions? That wasn't clear to me, and if it were, I'd have thought that's certainly overdevelopment.
No, there's no extensions proposed.
No
It's a
extension.
conversion of the loft. The elevations indicate they're about the same apart from the windows in the roof.
I think it's probably a house that would have a bedroom and a kitchen, so that would look on the profile down that way, and the long bit is your actual main part of the house, similar to the house I live in. So taking that that's an average terrace house in the ladder streets, I would suggest, having had my loft floored to store stuff in, I would think you would only get enough room there for a bedroom for the height, because you'd have to come down, which indicates the block off.
Yeah.
So I do think that that is unrealistic. Malin, sorry.
2 things. It is a terraced house, and I couldn't understand where the plan and where it said the side elevation, and it looked like it was like an eave, wasn't it? So how can it be like that if it's a terraced house, or is that what we meant
It's
to?
next door.
That's it. They have to show the adjoining wall
I see,
in
yeah.
profile.
So it's next door, isn't it?
When they do the elevations, they have to show the elevations, even though we can't see them because there's a house in the way. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything improper about that.
Right,
It's just
okay.
a little object.
There's a very long report on the planning website that has been submitted on behalf of the applicant. It goes into a lot of technical detail about what preparation work they're going to do in the loft to open up the space. I can't remember the
Structural, it's a
well, there's
structural
quite a lot
work.
of structural work, isn't there?
Yeah.
Replacing
Structural.
wooden, the things that are supporting the roof at the moment by trusses,
Yeah.
thanks, by metal in order to open it up.
It's
Yeah, but after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everything by our sizes.
Mm.
Everything by a size. How big
Yeah.
that will be, how many metres it will be.
Yeah.
There's insufficient, I think what Danny said,
So,
there's insufficient information for us to make a fair judgment. But there's, in that 25 pages of that structural engineer's report, that's what that is. Doesn't seem to be any.
Measurements.
So, you know, touching on what Danny said, it's we can't really make a decision one way or the other than there's insufficient information.
yeah. And the plan of the first floor currently shows 2 bedrooms,
Two bedrooms.
doesn't it? And then they're going to go to 3. Because you can't, there seems to be like a wide open space at the top of the stairs and then making that into a bedroom. But it might be a tiny little space because there's no
Suppose they've got upstairs, haven't they? We've got some
Yeah.
upstairs from the existing bedroom.
the existing, when you look at the existing first floor,
Right.
it's just got an open space next to the stairs and only 2 bedrooms. You see that? You think, why is there that big space there?
Is that where they're going to run the staircase on?
But that's the existing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I feel that they're not drawn in the detail in this existing correctly.
Yeah, I can't, it's not very
I
clear.
can't imagine stairs go up into one big room.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we don't have enough information, we're just
No.
making assumptions, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we need to be able to have the facts there to say. So,
I don't know. Are you going to object to the proposal on the basis of not enough information or any other aspects such as overdevelopment and unclear if there's sufficient headroom or safe egress in emergencies, or is it just that you
overdeveloped.
The decision target date, which is going to be by delegated authority, is the 1st of May. When's our next
Oh yeah,
meeting?
we'll come back to April if you wanted to.
Yeah, would it be possible to ask them about further information? Because if they haven't, you would expect the planning officer to be asking for more information from the applicant. wouldn't you? And then if that was forthcoming, we could look at it
Well,
again.
so would you like then, if we put on there that we can't, there's insufficient information to make a judgment?
Yeah.
Defer seeking more information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is a point though. The decision target date's the 1st
Oh,
of
yeah.
May, but the last date for submitting comments is the 29th of March, just before.
Oh, right.
So we can't do that.
Okay.
So on
So
the
let's go-
base...
Let's go back to plan A then.
Plan A, yes.
Is that alright, colleagues, or not?
Yes.
You okay with that, Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay then, yeah? Alright, Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay, next one, 240876. Internal alterations fit out to provide British Heart Foundation retail unit.
Yeah,
Unit A, that was Argos,
that's
as
it.
was.
Oh, right.
It's a fairly straightforward refurb of that shop and the frontage of that shop.
British Heart Foundation are taking it over.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's better.
That's good.
I would have thought so, yeah.
And then the next one is an advertisement consent. Is anyone, are you happy with that? then?
Yeah, I'm happy with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
And 240877 is advertisement consent.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's fine.
Next one then, 240786. A certificate of lawful development for proposed recladding of existing premises and new windows in white. JMAR Packaging, First Avenue.
Yeah, we can look at it if you want. It's not a huge
No,
amount to look at.
it's
This
pretty
is-
straightforward.
They're cladding it with better insulation,
Yeah,
thin span stuff,
it
and
is,
then
yeah.
there's some new windows going in.
Yeah.
It's not the most exciting
No,
but it does the job it needs to.
Absolutely.
At
I
least
take it won't be like that place in London that got burnt down.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it won't. I'm
No,
pretty sure we're
not
all
with the
over
new
that.
regulations. No.
Right. Should knock at the absence of the application.
Yeah, it's nice.
Next one then, 240742. Prior approval, application of a single storey rear extension, and it gives the rear elevation height and so on, with a hipped roof, 107 Lansdowne Road.
Yeah, there was a bit of a confusion this one because they never sent it to us to be consulted on, but we spotted it anyway, which is nice. It's but having said that, it's not controversial. It's a small, appropriate single-storey extension on a residential house. You
Yeah.
can bring it up if you like. It's nothing challenging at all.
No.
Have we had any
Not
objections?
No
from the ladies?
objections at all.
And it's not overlooking anyone.
No.
Not overlooking, single story. There's something already there which is just
Yeah.
replacing
Yeah,
slight
that's pretty
slight improvement.
straightforward. That is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Move on. And next one, 240734, lawful development certificate for a proposed single-storey extension to the rear of 11 Franklin Avenue.
It's very, very similar, but this is lawful development, so technically we don't have to be consulted on this, but we've spotted it in the planning lists. And again, nothing too challenging. Any of these you want me to move on, I can, but there's just nothing. It's just a small development.
Colleagues from Franklin
I
Avenue.
was going to say, don't we know someone who lives there?
No problem
No
there.
problem.
Yeah.
Is that okay then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. The next one is item 6, to consider making responses to any urgent planning applications that have arisen since the agenda was published. And the first one is 230539, and that's planning units 1 to 3 comprising.
It's the Basford East development.
Oh right,
Yeah,
yeah, western part of Basford East.
that's it.
Is there anything?
I'll bring it up. It's a load of sheds and a load of car parking. Is what it is, and there's some paths. It's obviously a very large scale. I looked through the reports, took a bit of time on this. The net biodiversity gain is set at 0.29% gain, which seems like a bare minimum based on desktop calculations. Doesn't fulfil the intent of ensuring benefit as it provides close to zero margin for error. We have a strong community interest in introducing Swift boxes, so we might seek that they could be added to it. And I couldn't identify any sustainable energy production on the proposals at all. The roof plans are in there, they show nothing. There's a lot of information that I happily bring some of it. It's a massive development.
But based on the town council's environmental and little card that you gave out,
Yeah.
does that not tick many of those boxes on there? Because we had Swifts and hedgehogs and all sorts of...
The biodiversity report that's within it is quite in detailed. And in the end, the conclusion is it's demonstrating through on-site provision and also off-site provision a net biodiversity gain of 0.29% once the development's been done. It'll displace barn owls and displace one or two other things as well. But that does fulfil the policy. I believe it's right to consider if you get this tiniest margin of error, 0.29%. I don't think it fulfills the idea of net biodiversity gain. We're assured it's going to be net, not theoretical in a table of statistics, which is what 0.29, which is effectively zero, which is a table of statistics rather than demonstrable evidence. And I would suggest that it may not make any material effect on the planning decision, but I think it's appropriate. I would advise it's appropriate to make the comment that this is derisory in my view.
Jim, Stephen.
Well, if this is the one I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure it is. This is actually going to committee for decision.
Imagine it would, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
You'd have to, I would have thought so.
Of that scale, yeah.
That's
It's
of
big,
that
isn't
scale,
it?
so it's probably going to what, someone or strategic or one?
I think it's strategic. Because of the scale.
We just received it, wasn't it, that one?
What's that?
That's the wrong one.
That's the wrong one.
That's a typo.
That's the conservation areas.
I've got the wrong year, that's why it's 23. So the committee did make response to this application when it first came forward in 2023, and that's why we have a detailed biodiversity strategy associated with this, and a few other things that point to be fair. They have been responsive in that sense.
On 26th of April.
Just trying to find a decent site plan.
Is it crayfish?
Yeah, there's white claw crayfish. I've read all these, very detailed and proper ecology student to be found, but it goes a bit beyond my understanding.
But does it actually, yeah, I mean, I did a glance through
What
that sort
are the
of
bottom
pages
three
and
of
pages of stuff, and I thought, well, I'm not going to read all the application material because it's plainly, it's been kicked back to by the officers, planning officers, to the applicant to try again before even going to the committee. And I think there were some rather interesting comments on that from, I don't know what it's called now, but the new council that probably covers most of that area actually now. I'm not sure it's even
It's called Crew Green and something.
Crew Green and Basford and
Yeah.
Western, something of that sort. It took over the Crew Green area because it will be a significant development. But there were a lot of comments there about the scale of the warehouses, sort of vast warehouses, and not just it was not just the area, but also the height. I mean, they were talking about, I'm pretty sure they were talking about 20 to 30 metres. It was terrifically high. And I couldn't help thinking that was out of proportion. That was not. But you've got the Basford West development, which had a planning brief, which a lot of time was spent on that many years ago to mitigate the heights that were proposed in the first place. To finish up with nothing more than about 18 or 20. It was all staged from the warehouse out towards the housing. Not clear, and it's not particularly clear to me whether this actually meets that criteria in any way. And there's supposed to be hundreds, if not 1,000 houses on that, in that same area, and a school, all of which seem to be sort of not in doubt, but there was some report, wasn't there, a public report that the housing developer was
Schools and
the school, the housing developer there there was some difficulties whether they're going into liquidation or something of that sort. Not very promising. But you've got do 30 metre high warehouse and sheds actually, is that absolutely appropriate in relatively close proximity to what will be eventually another village? Anyway, but you were here the last time when it was looked at, a year ago or whenever. Has it been improved much? Has it changed the heights much?
I can't tell you. I'm sorry, I don't know.
No. I mean, it's when it goes to the committee, all this stuff I'm sure will be explored.
It could well be. I don't know if you want to add any comments to that.
So what do you, I mean, taking it up just around there, there's a bit of green, there's a pond.
Yes, well, the whole thing's a green space right now. And then obviously we build all this out, theoretically, according to proposals. There's some active travel around the site and the paths to put in, and they have put greenery and some water aspects in there. But it doesn't take it right. If you put that much development on a field, whatever's left over is not going to be much for biodiversity, so you have to displace it elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not suggesting we can advise them on how to do it. I feel it's appropriate that we might be commenting that this is...
It's that whole 0.29 that's got to you.
Yeah, it just feels like, it'll do. Prove me wrong. Actually, I can't, to be quite frank. But no, just in maths terms, if you've got a margin of error of 0.29%, you're effectively going to risk failing, aren't you?
I think the ratio should not be, the ratio of compared to the site is too big. It's not leaving enough nature, not at all.
So that's realistically it. There were comments that we put in before about all this, and they have addressed them: cycle provision, electric vehicle provision, and that sort of thing. But from what I could see, I just made those comments from what I could derive from this. Bearing in mind, also, I'd say to this every month, I'm not a planner, so I miss an awful lot in planning terms.
Access.
Okay, let's try and move it forward. So what do you suggest?
I'm suggesting that it might be commented that the net biodiversity gain of 0.29% bare minimum based on desktop calculations does not fulfil the intent of ensuring benefit, as it provides close to zero margin for error. The provision of Swift boxes meets local intent to support the local population of Swifts, and there's no. it wasn't clear that there was any sustainable energy production on site.
Yes.
Access to that site is through that housing estate, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, when I looked, access through is through the middle of that housing estate.
Yeah.
Is it the new housing estate at Western, that one? Oh no.
I don't think that's been built out yet, has it?
No, that plan says it's a Wimpy housing estate.
What was that?
It's this side.
I don't know
I thought
what
it was the...
lorry's going in it. So that's between the bypass and Gresty Green. So
Gresty Green.
that's Crewe Hall, so it's that side between Crewe Hall
Oh,
and
it's the other side, yeah.
the bypass.
Oh, right, yeah, I know it is, yeah.
There you go. I'll be there.
Right.
That's actually outside.
So you got because there was a housing there.
So, I mean, actually,
Okay, so-
that's not even in the Crewe Town Middle, is it?
It is the tiniest corner of the site, that bit there,
Yeah.
almost that contour line, is in Crewe East. The rest of it is all outside. And in terms of the proposals, it's the green bit that they've left.
Yeah.
So, but we're being consulted. When it's, there's an element of the developments that are just out on our boundary, we'll still associate with Crewe, even the house and everything else.
Okay, so what Pete said,
Yeah, exactly what Pete said, yeah.
that
A bigger percentage. Yeah.
Yeah, 20.9% would be better.
Yeah, it was.
Something like 20. You want something that where there's room to grow and you can drop 5 or 10%
Yeah.
there or there.
Yeah, it's too dense in the middle the way they've done it. I don't know why they didn't break up the middle part and do a bit more in the middle. It's just like dense. They've done it on the peripheral, but it's just too
Once developed out the positive, it will create an awful lot of jobs or provide them locally.
yeah.
which is good, but also, people want those areas during their break time and
Quite right.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Right then. Another bit, 240902. A proposed car park adjacent to Electra House. Is this all concrete or grass?
Yeah, I'm taking down trees, and we have very positive local.
Where's Joni Mitchell when you're
Yeah, exactly. A resident who's helped me out on this one as well. Roadside plan, there we go. Right. Observations on this: the proposals do not provide for net biodiversity gain, which is contrary to Cheshire East Local Planning Authority. The removal of mature trees is not supported and does not meet the planning policy requirements of the Local Planning Authority. Proposals are contrary to active and sustainable planning policies. There is inadequate provision for EV charging. There is inadequate provision for safe and secure undercover cycle storage. The proposals do not address the planning authority's adopted SUDS, which is Sustainable Drainage System strategy and policy.
Okay. Does anybody want to make any?
While the thrill of those words lands with you, I'll explain. This is green space right now, and they're taking out these trees, leaving the green boundary, and installing parking across that green space.
Which no one will use.
Well, I don't know about how I'm guessing they're doing it for a purpose, but we don't want to stop this necessarily, but it's pretty much, like you say, Joni Mitchell told me about some while ago.
Yeah.
It's the existing open grass area there, and it's taking out that line of trees and car parking over that space.
There's no suggestion anywhere. Do the words travel plan appear anywhere on this
I
document?
haven't noticed. It doesn't make me perfect at all.
I mean,
There's
location
location plans, application form doesn't go into further detail.
What does 64 Bedford Gardens say? He's
Well,
always
in
worth it.
far more eloquent ways, exactly what I've said, 'cause I've copied it.
That's well, I mean, these are, Yeah, that's a very learned and learned kind of assessment, and I totally agree with it.
What are you saying is they should be catching the bus and not building more car parking spaces?
Yes, that's what I was getting at.
That's basically, I read that, and that's basically the drift that I get from that letter.
Yeah.
That he's saying that they shouldn't be building more parking spaces,
Yeah.
they should be encouraging either cycling or getting a bus to work.
And there's bus stops down there, even if they're not used.
But the biggest problem with Electra Way is that the people, firms have got car parks, they park on the grass. And I was talking to a police officer there one day, and I said to him, there was 3 cars parked across the grass, and one of them was actually, his wheels were actually on the path. And I said, why can't you do them? Because I've got to see them do it. I said, well, they don't pick it up and put the bloody thing there, do they?
Right, okay.
Yes, I think language, Mr Chair.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
I apologise.
There is
You'll
a
get to know me one day.
there is a problem with parking in
Yes.
that area.
It looks
We know that, and the bungalows that are across the road are always up, making quite rightly that the
Yeah.
people parking. So there is a case for more car parking, but clearly here they haven't taken into account. They've just said, well, we'll get rid of those trees, get rid of that, and we'll maximise what we can get on that land, rather than let's keep the trees and put less would be a solution maybe going forward. And you'll always get that because we've had it every time where they're extending, and we want firms to extend because it's jobs and the rest of it, but equally they should be mindful of the environment. So could we say,
I would agree with
is
John. I would agree with
is
John,
the
yeah.
a
I don't
happy
see why you
medium?
can't keep the trees and should
Yeah.
slightly diagonal or
Yeah.
something to
Well,
maintain the
it's
trees. Not
shocking.
removing the trees is
It's shocking
You know.
that it says there's no arboricultural impact assessment on tree removal. You think it's unbelievable?
And we've had that on other applications, haven't we, where they haven't done that, and then when they were made to have it, they had to reduce the numbers and retain some of the green. So Madeline, you were just
Well,
say something.
We've got the comments from the member of the public in front of us quoting the various policies, and it includes very topically what we've been talking about tonight, about policy CO1 of the local plan, sustainable travel and transport, requires development to deliver the council's objective of a high quality integrated transport system. Moving away from cars to public transport, cycling and walking. And also it mentions about council, it suggests that the council should seek financial contributions towards improving public transport links to the business park. Well, I don't think I could have, well, I certainly couldn't have put it better, you know.
I agree with that.
I
totally.
think maybe we should say that we support the comments and suggestions made by the member of public.
Absolutely. And then policy SE12, as you said, topically, it mentions that development should support improvements to air quality and not
exactly.
contradict the air quality strategy
Exactly.
or action plan, etc. But yeah, the sustainable transport, because you know, that's well, during lockdown, it was quite easy to park on the business park and have a walk round, you know, the green areas. But normally it's absolutely chock-a-block, and it was worse than chock-a-block, and it absolutely contradicts the original idea of that park, which was it was going to be a green business park.
Yeah.
I agree totally.
Right, so there was a proposal there, and obviously what you said.
Yeah.
Put those comments.
If I summarise it, it seems
Yeah.
that members are seeking a pragmatic proposal with a more sustainable approach, and that the committee supports the comments made by the resident of 64 Bedford Gardens, such that, and then the things I read out, plus the final one, provision for active and sustainable travel in line with policy CO1 and SE12.
Yeah.
Yes? Is
Yeah.
that okay then?
Yeah.
Unanimous, thank you. Right, next one, 240767. I shall read this in full. Certificate of proposed lawful use for putting garden fence in my legal boundary, and I do not see I violate any laws or regulations. Would you like to make comment? I think we should be careful what we say here.
I haven't looked at it. The application is on land associated with the property, so it is their garden as I understand it. But perhaps it might be worth the planning authority checking the proposals do not contravene the principal planning consent and conditions of that site, such that enclosed and boundary treatments meet the intent of the development's design statements and estates planning approval.
The house is the...
Sometimes when you put a new development, there are covenants to say
Yeah.
how treatments are on fences and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to capture.
I know it's a long time ago, but when I moved into my place, I was told that the houses opposite me wasn't allowed to put edges or fences because there was a covenant saying it had to be open space.
No.
Now, I don't know how long these things last. Sorry?
Is that there?
Yeah.
So,
I'm agreeing with you, Dennis.
can I have that
Can we
report?
put
So
that-
anyway,
That's on record.
I'm sorry about that. All I want to know is, he says it's lawful, but is there a covenant saying he can't do it?
Well, that's what
Because
yeah.
Greenfield Way is, well, it's quite a new name to me.
It's
Is
down,
it a
not
new-
more green, more like
Yeah.
Colby Road.
Off Grove.
Colby Road.
Is it?
Yeah, it'll come clear in a minute.
Okay.
Still agreed about it anyway, whatever.
So,
There's Remus Street Road Junction there.
Yeah, on the
And
double.
there's that property there. Then. I'll get closer in a second, which is a slight confusion.
Greenfield.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
It's that one there.
right.
Nice and green round it.
So, as I was saying, do we know if there's a covenant?
Well, I
You
think
can't do
that's-
it.
That's not something I can
Then-
say. I don't know. That's why I'm suggesting
Well,
it might be for the planning authority to check.
I think he's floating that idea that
Yeah.
it might
Well,
well be in there.
I agree, and I don't see how we can vote on it anyway until that's done.
Unless somebody's objected round there and saying you can't put a fence up because it's not allowed.
Yeah, simple.
But I mean, my
Steve,
gut
you-
feeling about this without having studied it, and particularly in view of the wording, you know, I don't violate any laws or regulations.
Obviously, had a spat.
Obviously had a spat with the neighbour, and to me this sounds like a neighbour boundary dispute, and I'd be very wary of getting involved in a
Well,
boundary
I
dispute.
did say that,
Neighbours,
didn't I?
which is I think what the clerk is kind of suggesting in a roundabout fashion, that there may be factors that we're not aware of and can't be aware of, and actually if it's an argument about whose fence it is and all that, it's not really a matter for us to comment on.
So would you like
for
to
lawyers or
say
solicitors to
no
argue
comment?
about it? So,
Now then,
I would say it's, to me, I think, looking at that picture, you can see it's very open round the front.
Yeah.
And then when you put that fence there, you can see it is actually, it's a break with the character and design of those open frontages, isn't it? It's a very solid, it's not a verdant barrier. It's a solid wooden barrier. And the rest of the street scene is quite, I would call it verdant, and I believe that's what it would be known as in the developers and the planners' terms. The intention to convey some greenery and openness around those houses. Therefore, it rather sticks out, doesn't it, as being very different to what I think is the design principle for the area. But we've already said we would suggest that the planning officer would look at that, and I think there may well be covenants, because I know of other areas, and like Councillor Strange-Francis has already said, you know, we're aware of these types of restrictions are put on, particularly modern housing estates at the point when they're built.
Yeah, okay.
But there's already
Thank you for
a
that.
boundary fence there, isn't there?
That's his
the
garden
fence.
Yeah.
That's the fence he's talking about.
Well, that's,
isn't it?
that's,
No,
Oh,
no, it's
no,
not.
he's replacing it with one with concrete posts and,
Yeah.
and wood panels, which are looking.
From what I can read of
moderate, I
this,
think.
he wants to put an 8-foot fence around his
it
property.
does, yeah.
Somebody said you can't.
We soon that, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's 6'6", I believe.
1.8
Well,
metres.
Well, I'm not. I don't
Anyway,
know.
let's go down that.
I don't know, you
I think
can't
what-
see over it, but
We've got words like verdant and various things like that, and we really need to capture that into our response now. I think this is an excellent meeting. So we need to capture verdant, whatever we say,
I've got verdant and design principles.
Yeah.
tree museum as well.
and pick it back, pick it into the long grass for Cheshire.
Verdant vistas. I would
Yeah.
express that.
Is that the back of the Cross Keys
Yeah.
estate?
That's a bit awesome there, isn't it?
Okay.
No, it's a big estate.
Long precious.
Okay,
That's
then.
right, thank you.
We're getting carried
Okay,
away.
we're getting carried away. Let's go through with Dennis, twice, don't get
Yeah.
It's an easy run in for
Shall we
me,
get
so
back
it's
to
all right.
the, so we're okay with that then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, next one then. 240969, rear single story kitchen and bathroom. 3 Waldens Lane.
Back into safe territory.
Is that okay?
I would
Yeah, we
suggest
are,
you're
okay.
welcome to look at it again. It's a nice single story, easy extension.
Is that okay then?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Okay
forward,
then.
yeah.
So next one then. 240998. A removal of the existing cladding, a building signage to the showroom with new cladding, signage zones. Proposed external works to uplift the current provision of car parking spaces.
They're flashing up the building. Effectively.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's, I can bring it up, but it's just the
No,
cladding. I guess.
yeah.
Just before we,
That's straightforward,
just
that is.
before, well,
It is a car garage.
I think
isn't
I just
it?
need to put a few words.
Mm.
I can remember the planning application when this came in for Jaguar,
Check you are.
and one of our members of the Men Planning Committee, who unfortunately is no longer with us, Councillor Brian Roberts, went into a hissy fit because it was going to be grey, and he felt on that key corner of that roundabout that it was depressing, and he kept going around it.
Really?
And we made comment, I think you'll find we made comment, and I don't know those words, I can't remember. But I remember this incident, and they said that it was corporate colours, that's what they would do, and so on and so forth. So we've had this grey box. Now, they're now saying, well, I don't know what colour they want to do it, but we're not addressing that, we're addressing whether they're going to take box edges out to put 33 more car parking, or 44 car parking spaces. So the first bit is just it was just that we objected that the colour, and it might be great now because, you know, make it a bit more snazzy there,
Yeah,
you
of
know.
course.
But they do want to rip up. It seems to be a theme of today's planning committee,
Does
isn't
it?
it? A theme.
Yeah.
There's 2 pictures, one as is, and then to me, and it says the number 44 spaces and 3 box edges, I think 2 boxes.
Yes, I can recall late Councillor Roberts going on at great length when I'm sure it had to do with this site, and maybe not in detail, but basically that it was, well, there were comments on the application, and this was at the Strategic Planning Board, so maybe it was an outline application or something at the time. And this was a landmark location. So are they admitting then that it was horrible in the first place?
I'm not, I'm just saying that it did go a little bit.
Didn't appear to be smartly changed for me. It's a different design.
Just take the Jaguar name off and put in
It's one
sort of
I
what
don't know what that relates to.
3Y.
CY3.
It's like a C backwards today, I don't know.
Three
This is what they are,
Oh,
EYB,
3Y.
maybe, I don't know.
That's pretty weird.
So that
That's
could
proposed.
well be still. Sorry,
Point
Marlon.
of information, Chair, I'm reliably informed that they've changed that site now. It's no longer selling Jaguars.
Right.
it's gone into a used cars instead. Pre-loved.
Upselling.
It's not a new word.
Get it down.
Another one for you.
Yeah, exactly. Not a new word.
Okay, so they're,
Pre-lived.
that's the as is,
That's
is it?
as is, yeah.
That's the as is, that one.
This-
This is the 2B.
It comes across as me as if they're modernising the building.
Yeah,
If they're not selling Jaguars and they're selling something else, then it sounds to me some sort of corporate plan to change the image.
and that isn't really for, it's a plan of them up. It's this where they want to make car parking spaces
Yeah.
for
Look at all
extra
them bushes they're
33,
getting rid of.
33, and it does say 2 box edges, and then there's a,
Yeah.
so it's just, that's the observation we should be commenting on, I
I
think.
don't think we should be taking out the trees and stuff. We've already objected to one car park having the trees taken out.
And we want to assume they want 33 more for their pre-loved cars.
Yeah, it must be.
I'm just a bit mindful it's a business park. It's on the business
Yeah.
park. It's not an industrial area, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Now,
what I was thinking.
The last discussion we had about trees and removing trees, they were removing trees for people to park their cars because they were commuting to there. Now, this, as I am reliably informed, is a slight change in the business. Therefore, you can imagine they will need more parking spaces to continue with that business on that side. Because if you're selling new cars, you wouldn't, and if you know, you wouldn't necessarily need so much space as if you're selling pre-loved cars. We don't want to stifle business development in the area, do we? I'd only just put a little...
I just think that is on a key spot. That is on a
Yes.
green roundabout, but not tucked down the electric way. This is, you get around the roundabout and there's that building and it's been there.
It's right next to the garage.
So
Every time you drive into the garage, it's in front of you.
I mean, from a visual point of view, someone's looking for it.
Yeah.
They need to see it, don't know where it is. So, I mean, it's on the junction. There's lots of cars going by there anyway, lots of traffic. The only thing is they relocate and put some more in, but then that defeats the object. So, like Marilyn said, you can't really stifle business either. Not in the location it's at anyway. I mean, it's not ideal, but...
Yes, but there's already a business there that's been doing quite well without having additional parking spaces going down the streets.
It's different business model though now, isn't it?
I mean, do we wish to be consistent with reference towards our greenery? What
I would
consistent
suggest
theme
it's sensible.
that says, you know, we can't just make it say, oh, we could. So say, well, that's okay with us, that is, but we don't like that bit. We should have a consistency. If they want to take out a tree, or in this case, some box edges as well, then we should be consistent because maybe there's wildlife in those box edges.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we not be consistent? If I'm happy, if
Yeah,
we don't
I
want to
mean-
be.
Well, we should be. If
But
we're telling them that's the way
We
they can't
can't
take the trees
pick
out,
and
they
choose
can't take the
because
trees out there. They need
it's
to
a
stand
second-hand car lot now, isn't it?
You know, that's what it is.
That's consistent, and consistency is important in that area.
I agree with that. I've got to be
Pete.
consistent. But
I entirely agree. I think you're right to reference the consistency. The difference might be that those trees aren't classed as mature trees, but there is no arboricultural report, which there should be, as we now learned. Might I suggest that the committee raises its concerns at the lack of arboricultural report and the removal of trees in that area, and seek that a proposal would attempt to retain as many trees as possible.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
That's the way, yeah. Is that all right, Kevin?
yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay then, thank you for that. 7. To note responses submitted on delegation since the previous meeting, and we did make no comment on the application in Powell Street. Item 8.
to note and consider any correspondence, etc. 8.1 Cheshire East Crossing Strategy. To say, councillor, why? Well, that's closed apparently. So if anyone's made comment, it's
That consultation has been completed.
8.2. Ben shared that with us earlier.
Yeah.
8.3 Town and Country Planning Ignite, proposed stopping of a highway at Cross Street.
That's in the pack.
That's Oak Street car park.
Yes,
Cross
that's
Street.
exactly right. To do with the youth zone proposed use zone.
So there's a picture there of the back. Oak Street car park, and it comes from High Street through Cross Street.
Presumably that's almost promoting because that is needed anyway to enable the land to be used for the youth zone.
It's a statutory consultation, and you may wish to comment. I certainly don't have any comments. The development of the youth zone is something that the council is generally welcome. So I would suggest, just as Councillor Hogben says, it's a requirement of the development.
It's to do with the youth zone, isn't it?
Yeah,
So okay, then we make
Just note it, I suppose. You don't have to make
Yeah.
comment.
note. Right, hang on. The next one then. Oh, this is different. Alfresco licence application, the Cheese Hall.
Yeah, again, it's in the back. The Cheese Hall would like to retain its tables and chairs on its Earl Street frontage,
Oh yes.
and so I think they're formalising that with the with this application. I don't have any concerns or observations.
They have them though, don't they?
They're already there, but now they're just trying to formalise that, which I think is quite appropriate.
I was wondering if there was enough space out the front.
Yeah.
I've never really paid much attention.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot. I'm not that I don't spend a lot of time in the Cheese Hall, but having walked past it many times,
There's enough space, is there?
it doesn't cause an obstructional concern to me.
I'll look closely next time.
Stand outside there, smoke.
We ought to arrange a site visit.
Yeah.
Yes, a site visit.
Site visit, yeah.
Well, that's up to you, councillors, to decide. I have no comments to make.
Shall we have a site visit?
That's what I suggested, yeah.
I think we could go around.
You could, if you'd like, adjourn the meeting now for half an hour
Yeah, down.
and nip down and then check it all out.
As long as you take your plastic card, yeah. Okay, seriously, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
We do get carried away sometimes. Right. So that's that. Now, item 9 then, to note correspondence associated with planning enforcement. 9.1.
9.1, the erection of a canopy in 43A High Street where there's a car wash facility. The planning authority have communicated with the owners, and they've decided to take no action over it. Just leave it there.
Alright, 9.2, 5 Booker Grove. Registered with the Cheshire East Planning Enforcement.
Just for noting, that was raised to me by a councillor that that development has long since been partially completed and not moved forward a long way, so that's now registered with planning enforcement to consider what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean it's
been in a state of dereliction for a number of years now. I feel sorry for people who live nearby.
Well, can I recommend to all councillors, if you see a property in dereliction, it's entirely right to raise it directly with Cheshire East Planning Enforcement. If you want, that's fine, but put it to me and I'm happy so we can record it, put it forward. I feel we should, I honestly feel sorry to say this is not down to be what I think, but I feel we should be reporting every piece of dilapidated property to try and raise the expectation in the town that it's not okay to let it go.
It's not, and it's opposite the school, and it just looks dreadful.
I've had, obviously being the councillor for the area on Cheshire East, I've had complaints from residents about it, and I have tried to pursue and get information. I believe there's difficulties in contacting the owner. I know there has been a fire there, and there was access to the building was a problem and contributed to that, and I believe that some action's been taken on that, but it certainly is continuing as an absolute eyesore.
no, because it was I mean the house itself before they started to try and extend it was a good house, a good looking house, a solid house.
Yeah.
And then somebody came in to more or less gut it and extend it, and they got halfway through the project, and who knows what happened. I mean, it's a speculation.
Yeah.
And the place is a tip. I mean, where the garden used to be is just piles of soil and bricks, and it is nice.
Yes, in a nice, what is a nice residential area.
Yeah, I did ask about it ages ago.
Yes.
And there was something then about they couldn't get trace the owner or he'd gone abroad.
Yeah, perhaps we could get an update from planning enforcement on
Well, I
current
hope so.
situation.
I've submitted it and I've had a response. It's been registered, so I just wait for them to go through their process.
Thank you.
Okay then, thank you. 9.3, Rainbow Street, completion of
Yes.
the works. Is that
Yes,
so?
Rainbow Street, there's fencing up along it, well, for as long as I've been here, the development there, those bathroom shops and the tile shop and that. And down Rainbow Street, a lane effectively of the road was just botched up. We raised it and we put a bit of a representation into Cheshire East that should be completed as the development of that site. And 2.5 years later, it's done, it's completed. You can park there and it's nice and clean and it looks like someone cares. It's good.
Excellent.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
yeah. 2.5 years ago until that fell. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay then, so item 10. To note the proposed date of the next meeting is the 22nd of April, 6 p.m. Is that correct? Pete?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. Well, thank you for your attendance as usual, and thank you for your excellent contributions on lots of topics today.